October 21st, 2011. A NATO airstrike tears through a convoy fleeing the Libyan city of Sirte. Among the wreckage, dazed and bleeding, crawls a man who once commanded absolute power over Africa's fourth-largest nation. The revolutionaries find him hiding in a drainage pipe. Muammar Gaddafi, the brother leader, reduced to begging for his life in a concrete tomb. The convoy left Sirte at dawn. 75 vehicles, pickup trucks mounted with anti-aircraft guns, armored SUVs carrying what remained of Gaddafi's inner circle. The brother leader himself sat in one of the vehicles, surrounded by loyalists who still believed escape was possible. They were wrong. Sirte had been under siege for weeks, the last stronghold, the last city still flying Gaddafi's green flag. Now even that was crumbling. Rebel forces had surrounded the city, cutting off supply routes, tightening the noose. The convoy was a desperate gamble, a breakout attempt. One final roll of the dice. They headed west, hoping to reach Loyalist territory, hoping NATO wouldn't notice. NATO noticed. High above the Mediterranean, a French Rafale fighter jet picked up the convoy on radar. The pilot radioed coordinates. Within minutes, the decision was made. Strike authorized. The first missile hit at 8:30 in the morning. The lead vehicles exploded in flames. The convoy scattered. Chaos erupted. Some vehicles tried to turn back. Others pushed forward. None of it mattered. A second strike followed. Then a third. Missiles rained down from an enemy Gaddafi couldn't see, couldn't fight, couldn't negotiate with. The hunter had become the hunted. The man who once commanded armies now ran for his life through smoke and fire and twisted metal. The Empire of Fear began on September 1st, 1969. A 27-year-old army captain named Muammar Gaddafi overthrew King Idris in a bloodless coup. From that moment, Gaddafi ruled Libya with a firm grip. He banned political parties, silenced dissent, executed opponents publicly. Revolutionary committees monitored neighborhoods, workplaces, even families. No one was safe from suspicion, but fear alone didn't sustain his regime. Oil did. Libya sat atop massive petroleum reserves, billions of barrels beneath the desert sand. Gaddafi nationalized the oil industry, seizing control from Western companies. The money flowed. By the 1970s, Libya was one of Africa's wealthiest nations. Gaddafi used that wealth to build loyalty, fund his security apparatus, and project power across the continent. He called himself the King of Kings of Africa. He funded rebel movements from Chad to Nicaragua. He sponsored terrorism, Lockerbie, La Belle Discotheque. The world responded with sanctions, isolation, condemnation. Gaddafi didn't care. He thrived on defiance. Inside Libya, the cult of personality grew grotesque. His face appeared on billboards, buildings, currency. State television broadcast his rambling speeches for hours. He rewrote history, rewrote the Quran, rewrote reality itself. Dissent meant death. Loyalty meant survival. For 42 years, the system held. The oil kept flowing. The fear kept people silent. Gaddafi believed he was untouchable. Then came 2011. The spark ignited in Benghazi on February 15, 2011. Protesters gathered to demand the release of human rights lawyer Fathi Turbel. Security forces opened fire. 14 people died in the first hours. The violence didn't stop the protests. It multiplied them. Within days, demonstrations spread across eastern Libya, Tripoli, Misrata, Zawiya. People poured into the streets chanting for freedom, for dignity, for the end of Gaddafi's rule. They had watched Tunisia's dictator flee. They had watched Egypt's Mubarak fall. Now it was Libya's turn. Gaddafi's response was swift and brutal. Snipers targeted protesters, artillery shelled residential neighborhoods, mercenaries from Chad and Niger reinforced security forces. The regime unleashed everything it had, but something had changed. Fear no longer worked. For the first time in 4 decades, Libyans fought back. Soldiers defected, Police joined the protesters. Eastern cities fell to rebel control within weeks. The uprising had become a revolution, and the revolution was becoming a war. The collapse accelerated in March. Gaddafi's forces advanced on Benghazi, the rebel stronghold. His tanks rolled east. His artillery pounded cities into rubble. On state television, he promised no mercy. He called the rebels rats, cockroaches, germs that needed exterminating. A massacre seemed inevitable. Then, the world intervened. On March 19th, French fighter jets struck Gaddafi's armored columns outside Benghazi. Operation Unified Protector had begun. NATO warplanes enforced a no-fly zone. They bombed military installations, command centers, weapons depots. The regime's technological advantage vanished overnight. The civil war ground into stalemate. Gaddafi controlled Tripoli and the west. Rebels held Benghazi and the east. The front lines shifted back and forth across the desert. Misrata endured months of siege. Thousands died. Hundreds of thousands fled. Inside the regime, cracks appeared. Ministers defected. Generals switched sides. Diplomats resigned. The inner circle shrank. Paranoia consumed those who remained. Gaddafi moved between safe houses, never sleeping in the same location twice. He trusted no one. By August, rebel forces launched a coordinated offensive. They pushed west from Benghazi. They broke the siege of Misrata. They advanced on Tripoli from multiple directions. NATO strikes cleared their path. Gaddafi's army crumbled. On August 20th, Tripoli fell. Rebels stormed the capital. They overran the Bab al-Azizia compound, Gaddafi's fortress for decades. But Gaddafi himself had vanished. He fled east to Sirte, his birthplace, his final refuge. The vanishing happened in chaos. As Tripoli burned, Gaddafi slipped away. No one knew exactly when he left or which route he took. Intelligence agencies tracked rumors. Rebel commanders chased shadows. The most wanted man in Libya had disappeared. He surfaced in Sirte, his coastal hometown, the city where he was born in 1942, the place he always said he would die defending. Loyalist forces still controlled it. They fortified the streets. They dug in for a final stand. The rebels surrounded Sirte in mid-September. They demanded surrender. Gaddafi refused. Instead, he broadcast audio messages calling for resistance. His voice crackled with defiance, but also desperation. The brother leader was now a fugitive holed up in a dying city. For 6 weeks, the siege tightened. NATO bombed from above. Rebels advanced block by block. Civilians fled. Food ran out. Water stopped flowing. The city became a graveyard. By mid-October, Sirte was collapsing. Only a few neighborhoods remained under loyalist control. Gaddafi's options had run out. Escape or death. Those were the only choices left. The pipe became his final refuge after the convoy was destroyed. Gaddafi and a handful of loyalists fled on foot through the wreckage. Smoke choked the air. Bodies littered the road. They ran west, away from the burning vehicles, searching for cover. They found a cluster of abandoned buildings near Highway 4, construction sites, half-finished homes. A drainage culvert ran beneath the road, large concrete pipes, maybe a meter wide. Dark, hidden, desperate men crawled inside. Gaddafi crouched in the darkness with his security chief and a few bodyguards. Blood soaked his clothes from a shrapnel wound. He was 79 years old. The man who once commanded armies now hid in a sewer pipe like a rat. The irony was perfect. Rebel fighters swept the area. They knew someone important had escaped the convoy. They searched methodically, building by building, room by room. Then, someone spotted movement near the drainage pipe. Gunfire erupted. The loyalists fired back. A brief, desperate firefight. Then, silence. The rebels approached cautiously. They peered into the pipe. Inside, they saw him, Muammar Gaddafi, bloodied, terrified, begging. They dragged him out into the sunlight. The brother leader, the king of kings, the man who ruled Libya for 42 years. His empire had ended in a drainage pipe. Now came the final moments. The end came not in a palace or a courtroom, but on the ground, bloodied and surrounded. Cell phone cameras captured everything. Gaddafi pleaded for mercy. He asked what he had done wrong. The crowd had answers. Decades of answers. They beat him, dragged him across the hood of a truck, stripped him. The violence was chaotic, frenzied, unstoppable. Somewhere in those final minutes, a bullet ended his life. The official story said, crossfire. The footage suggested otherwise. By midday, Muammar Gaddafi was dead. His body was displayed in a commercial freezer in Misrata. Thousands lined up to see the corpse, to confirm it was real, to witness the end of an era. He had ruled for 42 years. He had survived coups, sanctions, wars, and revolutions. But he couldn't survive his own people's rage. The dictator who built an empire on fear died afraid. The man who showed no mercy received none. History had delivered its verdict.